Hello, darling. It's little old me, Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. That gal who put the trick into trick or treat. Now, if you're like me, and who isn't, you probably love to be scared. You know, the kind of blood-curdling, nail-biting kind of scare that has you locked in a grip of fear and screaming for your life? Reminds me of my last blind date. Anyway, believe it or not, the best place to be if you're looking for real thrills and chills on Halloween is at Hugh Hefner's Playboy mansion. Sexy, intoxicating, ravishing, gorgeous. But enough about me. Let's talk about the party. Whoa, these girls are sure having a happy something. Okay, by now you've probably figured out that this isn't your normal neighborhood Halloween party. I mean, if this party was titled Attack of the Flesh Eaters, the eaters would be busy until Christmas.
Happy Halloween!
Now, behind every great party is a blend of celebrities, great music, beautiful women, and hideous monsters? Now this is really my kind of party. You don't have to dig up a date. Somebody already did. From the minute you get on the mansion's private shuttle, you feel a certain kind of security. The party's a who's who of horror's most famous faces. And some of them even brought their new bodies.
I'm a horny little devil. I'm sure you'll bump into many of me this evening.
Now here's the real horny little devil, Hugh M. Hefner, the man responsible for putting the hex in sex.
Well, we started doing parties back in the 1970s at Playboy Mansion, and it wasn't really until the last few years that we started celebrating a number of the holidays, and very quickly Halloween became one of the most special ones.
Every year in late October, Hef's home is definitely the place to be for a spooktacular time.
I'm looking for some booty! We got booty right here, baby!
Now most people are afraid of things that go bump in the night. But at this party, you never know who you might bump into. Or grind into, for that matter.
That's my ex-husband!
A lot of work and planning go into a huge party like this. Transforming Hef's pad into a haunted mansion doesn't happen overnight.
We start planning the Halloween party about 4 months in advance. It's a combination of things that I kind of dream up and then go to Hef with, and then he approves them. Then we start painting things, building things, about 2 weeks before the party's actual setup time, and that's when the crews actually arrive and start putting stuff up, fixing up the house, lighting the house, getting all the smoke machines ready, getting all the scares ready. Out here on the graveyard, since we have a white area, we're going to be projecting some horror movies on the white as well as having an event inside the thing.
These guys are setting up the drive-in movie, and of course the clients for the film are all corpses. You can see this guy over here, he's scared. That's pretty good. And see, we got a lot of creative people here. That's pretty good.
We started last Thursday, actually putting the flats up, kind of mapping it out. 2 days before that, we got everything out of Rich's storage compartment down in the valley. That's 2 days in itself. 800 heads, 50 different figures from all over the film history.
I'll tell you something really interesting about those gargoyles up there. They came down here about 6 years ago when we did one of the first big extravaganzas for Halloween, and Mr. Hefner liked them so much, he decided to leave them up 365 days a year. So it's kind of Halloween all year round. Here's a young woman who's been laying around in storage for a while. She doesn't look like she enjoys it there. But you see, you open up the crates and this is the kind of stuff that comes out. You know what? Everybody has fun being scared. Because the truth is, first people scream and then they laugh. And when that happens, when they scream and then they laugh, you know you had the best show. You open up a box, it's like a treasure trove of stuff. Everything is fun, and you're always finding new stuff. This guy will probably end up in the dining room. It's a nice head on that guy. Again, beautiful artwork going into this thing. These guys are just down here, they've just been uncrated, they're waiting to go on. Just like putting on a play. This is the entrance to the Scarecrow Bog.
Whoa, scarecrows? These look like some of the guys I met over the internet, except they're not still living in their parents' basements.
I wonder if these scarecrows would really scare crows. Because they sure scare people, that's for sure. They look great, and in the dark, we have stuff like this white, everything's offset in moonlight. So it really looks good. Very, very scary. All of this is going to be in fog. So in fog and moonlight, it should look pretty good. The trick is here to guess who's real and who's not. Some of them are animated figures, and some of them are live actors. And they're all over the place. There's 28 of them down here.
Well, I don't really want to scare them. I think that, you know, that it's like going to a classic horror movie. You get the shivers, but there's a safety and security in it too. In other words, you know it's not real. So it's Fright Night in a very nice way.
Did you get her?
Hell yeah, I got her.
Cool.
All right. We also have the best actors we've ever had before.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, we have a bunch of great actors.
Because these ones are really dead.
Yeah, well, they get animated real fast.
All of the party's actors are chosen by the same standards as the Miss America pageant. Poise, grace, and beauty.
I think the dental work is going along nicely, don't you?
I scout throughout the year, and I invite actors that I think would fit in with our organization here, people that are hardworking and have a good sense of humor and just really enjoy Halloween fun. We found over the years that actors with strong comedic skills make the best actors for scaring people. They have a good sense of timing. They know how to exaggerate and be big and confrontational. And they also have a good idea about boundaries. They know the difference between scary funny and scary scary. And so, since we're all here to work hard and have fun, those are the actors that we want. Actors with good improvisational comedic skills and timing.
Let's see, put that on and try it. It just has to look like you're a stuffed person and then it'll work. Yeah, and just pull the hair down and we're gonna tuck your chair in. The more you look like you're a dummy, the better it is. People will be signing in, the signing table will blast. People will laugh, it'll scare them. They think that's it. Out of the corner of your eye, find somebody who thinks a good victim. And then spring at them and go after them and scream. It's really pulled off with a lot of precision and a lot of cooperation from a lot of different teams of people, and it's really quite involved. As a matter of fact, it's much like a movie shoot, except it's something that might go a little bit longer than a movie shoot in the prepping, and then it's all over in about 7 hours. All right, so stand here when people come in. You're going to greet them, tell them about the Hollywood Chamber of Chills. Here's your menu right over here. You say we have a seance room next to the front graveyard, psychic alley if you want to have your fortune told, right down that way. And make sure you visit the Mansion of Madness. Nice and loud, have a great time, big smiles, but make sure everyone hears what's going on.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Got it.
Cool. All right. Then he starts walking through and approving things, and everything's ready to go. I would say that if Louis XIV were still alive, he would be very envious of this type of party. It's just huge, colorful, great ambience, really scary, a lot of creative thinking goes into it. It's just a one-of-a-kind party that I don't think anyone's ever been able to duplicate.
Well, there you have it. The Playboy Halloween party is one of a kind. And that's because there's only one, Hugh Hefner. Congratulations! You made it into one of the world's hottest parties. As usual, there's lots of celebrities, great food, kickin' music, and plenty of nearly naked women. But one special night a year, things around here turn weird. Really weird. Every year on Halloween, beautiful faces and killer bodies share the spotlight with a legion of Hollywood's most famous nightmares. These creatures from the features rise from the dead to help celebrate Hef's favorite holiday.
We're able to do things with some very special friends, Rich Carell in particular, who provides a lot of the very special creatures in the haunted house. And the Playboy parties are world famous, but I think the most famous one, probably in addition to Midsummer Night's Dream, is Halloween.
Can they strobe this down here too, at least a little bit when we start? Huh?
This guy may not look scary, but he's made more girls scream than my hairdresser. By day, Rich Carell is one of TV's busiest directors, but at night, he's a monster's best fiend. And every October, he can be found turning the Playboy Mansion into the world's most terrifying piece of real estate. Now, who would ever think that on this quiet neighborhood block, in this serene-looking house, there lives an army of uglies that rivals the Addams Family? And Rich fits right in. Actually, Rich has devoted 39 years and a lot of hard-earned cash to assembling one of the largest horror movie artifacts collections in the world.
When I was a kid, I was always fascinated by horror movies because I thought they were a lot of fun, but it wasn't until I started actually working on the Universal lot in a show called Leave It to Beaver that I really started to put together a collection of stuff, because Jerry Mathers and I were like these big fans of horror films, and our makeup man was a guy named Bob Dawn who did a lot of the horror film makeups, and he would take us to the lab, to the makeup lab, and we couldn't believe the stuff they were throwing out. So I started to say, hey, you know, you threw this stuff in the trash, can I take it? And little by little I started collecting more, and then I kind of got into that and it became like a hobby of mine. It was great because, you know, Boris Karloff was like a hero to us, and here he was on the next stage doing this TV show called Thriller. And we would go and kind of like spy on him and watch from behind the corners and stuff, and just seeing him was really cool.
Another screams will soon be heard. Whose? Perhaps yours.
And then, of course, Jerry knew Alfred Hitchcock pretty well, because Jerry had made a film called The Trouble with Harry, and Hitchcock would come by and say hello to Jerry, and even in those days we knew how influential he had been to this type of genre. So it was great. It was a great time to be there. It was long before a Universal tour, so we kind of had the lot to ourselves, and as kids it was a huge playground. You know, the thing that was really fun is when we were doing Leave It to Beaver, I made really good friends with this guy named Ricky Conley, who was the son of the executive producer of Leave It to Beaver, Joe Conley. And Ricky and I were huge monster fans, so we were always saying to him, hey, you know, you ought to make a monster movie, Mr. Conley, why don't you do that? So he took our advice, because we were kids and all of our friends were crazy about monsters, except he didn't make a monster movie. He decided to make a monster TV series, which ended up being The Munsters, starring this guy here. And I always thought that Ricky and I had something to do with kind of the creation of the Munsters, because I think Mr. Conley was really influenced by all the kids that like that kind of stuff. I was the kind of goof that ran out every month and bought Famous Monsters of Filmland magazine, and I even sent them my picture, and they ran it, which made me like this huge hero around my school. Years later, I met a guy who was just as crazy as I was about monsters when he was a kid. Turns out together we'd throw the biggest and scariest Halloween party in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, Hugh Hefner. I met Hugh Hefner in 1983 when I was producing a show for the Motion Picture Hospital called King Kong's 50th Anniversary. It was kind of a tribute to the movie. And we needed a benefactor and some people that would come in as celebrities and help finance it. And we contacted Hugh Hefner, and he was very, very charitable and willing to do it. And he was also a huge fan of the movie.
It was one of the, you know, the early classic spectacles, and I don't know, it just wears very well. It's just a film that's very enjoyable.
So that's the first time I ever met him, and then I got to know him, and I began to realize we had this kind of common interest, which was horror movies and science fiction and things like that. And that relationship kind of grew over the years and turned into what is now basically the Playboy Halloween party.
If there's anything else you see in the house or something, let us know, right? Because we're just tweaking everything as we go.
Well, there's a lot of people involved in this, starting with Hef, who comes up with some ideas, and then he kind of shuttles them to me, and then I come up with even more ideas and go back to him, and the two of us get together like two little kids and see how much we can do to make people scared. Hugh Hefner and his family used to come to my house on Halloween, where some 7,000 people show up, and they saw all these decorations and this collection that I had. And he started to say to me, well, can you bring some of this stuff to the mansion? And I would say to him, well, it's either here for Halloween or it's on tour around the country. But if I ever get a year when I'm not gonna do that, I'd be happy to. So one year the collection was free, I went to him and said, do you want to do a party? And he said, yeah, let's make it a really big one. And let's make it like the best Halloween party that anyone's ever had. And I said, I'm glad to be a part of it.
It just gets bigger and crazier.
Weirder, freakier.
Well, I think the thing that he likes the best is that we put on a haunted house that would scare everybody, whether or not you know about movies. But the fact that we bring movie artifacts in and stuff from the old days, and we're very interested in silent film horror and early talkie horror all the way through the 50s sci-fi era that goes into the special effects era of the 70s and all the way up to the computer-generated effects of the 90s and beyond. I think he loves that mix, and he loves the fact that it's all film related, because he's a huge film fan himself. And by the way, he's very, very good as a film fan at identifying and knowing what all this stuff is. So we bring up stuff that I think he likes to see, and I think he likes his friends to share that enthusiasm with him. And then there's a whole group of people who are involved in this. There's casting people, there's makeup people, there's wardrobe people, a lot of special effects people. There's construction coordinators and guys that take care of specific things all the way down to food and parking. But we also deal with a company out of Columbus, Ohio called the Scare Factory. These guys are special effects guys who specialize in making pneumatic effects for haunted attractions and haunted houses around the country. And now they've gotten into the film business, they've gotten into the special effects business, they've gotten into the makeup prosthetic business. They're really our right hand putting this party on, because I dream up all these crazy things and then the Scare Factory can kind of pull them off. But it's a real unique company to be able to do that. I don't know anyone who rivals them, including people in Hollywood, that can do the kind of stuff they do. Not only build the stuff, but to really scare everybody.
Hey, this Scare Factory is my kind of place. Maybe I can get him to redecorate my torture chamber.
We got into Playboy a few years back when an individual by the name of Richard Carell approached me and said, hey, I have this neighbor, and his name happens to be Hugh Hefner, and he puts on this big Halloween party, and I put it on for him. Would you guys be interested in helping? And I thought for about a second, and I said, we would absolutely love to do that.
Hey, where's the Scare Factory guy? Somebody know how to work this thing?
The return's a little hot, so going out is okay. Coming down, when I let go, you're gonna isolate that one.
The Playboy party's tough. I mean, those people that attend that party have seen everything. The lifestyle, the movies, the special effects, they're very difficult people to impress because they've seen it all. So every year, Rich and all his people put together this attraction to literally wow people that are unwowable.
This year, Hef wants to be in this theme that's kind of like a Dawn of the Dead mausoleum type of thing, because they like all that stuff.
Right.
They love body bags and walking through the body bags, especially those kickers you have and things like that.
Right.
Now, once we get out of the body bag section, and we come down through here, we want to replace all the hollowed heads with your new skull chamber thing.
I think that'll be great.
I guess the crazier and sicker we get, the better it gets.
Absolutely. First thing we do is we sit down and we figure out what the character is going to be. Is it going to be human? Is it going to be zombie? Is it going to be a classic creature character like a werewolf or a mummy or something like that? And then we have to make sketches. We have to come up with, what does this thing look like? Where does it live? What does it eat? And we flush out that character. So once we have a concept that we think is a good one, I come up here to the computer and I lay it out. One example is the dining room table. All of these haunted houses have rooms within a house. There's bedrooms, kitchens, dining rooms. So we thought this could be furniture, but could also be a scare. So once we've designed it in the computer, we can send it down to the steel department where they can create a working prototype. So this is our dining table, and the steel construction allows it to look like a normal table, but then spring out and fire the character up to finish in about that position.
I think Hef's love of the day and the fact that we can all become kids again and the fact that he likes to scare people and loved all these old movies grew into this event that became bigger and bigger and bigger every year. There's always a bigger cast and bigger stunts and bigger haunted houses, and this thing has just grown into this huge event that Playboy then started to publicize as probably their biggest party, and then the whole city found out about it. Now they know about it in New York, and they know about it around the country, so it's getting bigger and bigger all the time. It's just one of those things that has grown and has never stopped growing.
Well, I guess Hef's party gives new meaning to the words shake your booty. Guess I know where I'll be next Halloween. Hey, wait a minute. This doesn't look like the Playboy Mansion. Oh, now that's more like it. I guess Hef's favorite monster is the monster of a party he throws every Halloween. It's a combination of ghouls and girls, with a cast of hundreds and a guest list, or should I say ghost list, of thousands, both living and dead. Of course, this isn't the way Hef's home usually looks, but every year around Halloween, the mansion starts to show another side of its owner's personality.
Being raised in a very typically Midwestern Methodist home, you know, I escaped into the dreams and fantasies of movies, and I think that the horror films were very much a part of that. For me, the classic films of my childhood are the favorites. Frankenstein, Dracula, King Kong. I love King Kong. But the one that really influenced me the most, without question, was Frankenstein. When my brother and I were young, we couldn't see the horror movies. There were some of the movies that our childhood friends were able to go to. It wasn't until I got out of grade school that I was permitted to go to some of the films that were not otherwise approved, and that included the horror films. And I think that Man Playing God, the Frankenstein myth, had a tremendous impact on me. The first horror film that I saw in 1939 was The Son of Frankenstein, and that prompted me to read Mary Shelley's book. And as the reruns of the old classic horror films started playing the circuit in Chicago, my brother and I would travel anywhere in the city to see Dracula and Frankenstein and King Kong. But the one that really influenced me the most, without question, in terms of the short stories I wrote, was Frankenstein. When I was 13, going on 14, I created a local club with my friends called the Shutter Club. And it was devoted to horror movies and the radio shows and books and pulp magazines that we loved as kids. And I created my own Shutter magazine. I did it every month, and they were one of a kind, so I could do them in color. They included comic strips, short stories, and comic crimes, and we had little badges and a secret handshake. Also in that same time frame, I started writing short stories, and a lot of them had horror connections, and this is a sample of that. It was a part of an extension of those fantasies, and of course it was also a way of sharing those kinds of fantasies with my friends. Creepy. Karloff was certainly my favorite monster, particularly in the guise of Frankenstein. And when I did the Shutter Club, I actually wrote him a letter and invited him to become the honorary president of the Shutter Club. So when I got a reaction from Karloff, it was, you know, a dream come true. My love of films goes to childhood, and you know, that was the place that fueled my dreams and fantasies. And my summer of '42, at the age of 16, I made a short movie called Return from the Dead. And it was, of course, a horror film inspired by Frankenstein. And I cast a girl in it named Betty Conklin that I had a crush on at the time, and my bus buddy Jim Brophy, who played a buddy who accidentally knocked over a beaker of poison gas and killed himself. And then I brought him back to life, and of course, as usual, with very bad effect. His brain had died, so he was a little crazed, and the film was a delight to do, and even more delightful to watch through the years with my friends. I think the major influence of my life, other than family, certainly when I was growing up, was the movies. And I was always very visually oriented. So I do think that if I had not wound up starting the magazine, it is quite possible that I might have wound up here anyway in Los Angeles doing something related to the movie business.
One of the highlights of Hef's Halloween Monster Mash are the famous movie meanies who reside here for the night. This $1 million collection of horror movie artifacts is just one of the treats that makes Hef's party a legend.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
No detail is too small for the host's personal touch. As the last rays of sunlight drop below the horizon, Hef checks on the last-minute details that help turn the Playboy Mansion into the vampire stake building. I guess it's fair to say that Hef gives as much attention to throwing a party as he does to supervising an issue of his world-famous magazine. Just like Playboy, Hef's parties are a reflection of their host, even if the host doesn't cast a reflection.
Well, I think something strange and special happened related to the Playboy Mansion over the years. It turned into a projection of a whole lot of other people's fantasies, and obviously, in a very real way, it's part of my own fantasy, and it again comes from childhood.
Now, who would have believed that Hugh Hefner's childhood fantasies were as much about ghouls as they were about girls? So just why do all of these beautiful people come out to a party at the mansion on Halloween?
We love you, Hef.
I guess that explains it. Whoa! There's more beautiful women at this monster bash than a vampire could shake a steak at. They're all part of the star-studded crowd shaking it up at Hef's Halloween happening. Famous guests, great-looking women, and fabulous costumes. Now, I bet you're wondering where these girls get their great form-fitting costumes. Look a little closer, darling. The only suits these girls are wearing are their birthday suits, along with a little paint and imagination. Here at the Playboy Mansion's gym, the Playmates are normally pumping up and taking off pounds, but today they're taking off their clothes under the watchful eye of the best body painting team in the business, Mark Frazier, his wife Susan, and their 2 children, Michael and Megan. Guess the family that sprays together stays together.
First thing that we did was we went through and we drew little outlines from the drawing Mr. Hefner approved. So the first thing we're doing is masking off for airbrushing the negative space so that the paint doesn't go on that section. We're going to be airbrushing our outfit on. There will be some hand painting work, but most of it will be airbrushed. So we have to work in negative space. You can't move now. She's going to have an Egyptian princess collar. So there's going to be lots of shapes that look like rhinestones and jewels. The first base color we're putting on is just a light blue that'll cause a separation. So when the collar is painted over the top, it looks like there is something underneath it. I was an airbrush artist and I worked with photographers, and one time I was painting a Cove background for a guy and he tapped me on the shoulder and asked if I could paint on a model. And I said, I don't know. I've never done it before, so I called Susan, that's my wife. And I said, Susan, this guy wants me to paint on a girl. And she said, well, how much? And I said, I think her whole body. And she said, no, how much is he going to pay you? And so I went and found out, and she said, go for it.
Actually, what I do is assist him in all the ornamentation that goes on the costume that we design. She's a pirate, so I'll go in and I'll detail and I'll do a lot of jewel work on her.
My daughter does a lot of the drawings for us. And my son, who's right over there, does painting with us.
We're going to spray you brown wherever your skin is showing, and then we're going to put like a surgical gauze over the brown, and then we're going to spray white through it, so it'll look like it's actual
Cloth.
cloth.
Right? Don't try this at home, kids. Nice area, thanks.
It's always fun. A chance to be something different than you are every day. As long as you're not shy about your body, then go for it.
The models we choose either get sent to us through an online service, or we have a talent agency set up a casting call. We see their body type then, and then sometimes they end up showing up differently in person, and then we'll just assign a costume to paint on them when they arrive.
Really, the body is a three-dimensional canvas, and it's a moving canvas. And I think it's a great way to give the illusion that you've got clothing or lingerie.
The airbrushing feels kind of just like a cold wind concentrated on your body. The paint's really lightweight. You don't feel it at all. It doesn't rub off. It's great, actually. I definitely feel like I'm wearing something. It looks so realistic, all the shadowing and shading and fine detail they put into them. It's just, some people can't even tell.
This is a body paint. It's made for us by Badger Airbrush. It's called Totally Tattoo. It's an alcohol-based paint. Because it's made with alcohol, sweat doesn't take it off. So when they're walking around the party, it lasts longer. After we put on a base coat, then we actually, because that's what's touching our skin, we can go in with other colors, that basically aren't body paints.
Body painting has been popular for years, but it took James Bond to introduce it to the modern world. In Goldfinger, Shirley Eaton was suffocated by being covered in solid gold paint. Will our models escape a similar fate?
They made it up for Goldfinger. You breathe through your nose into your lungs. Your skin does not breathe. Covering your body with paint, you might get a rash, right? But we don't get rashes. You might faint, but you won't die from keeping your skin from breathing.
You're very appealing.
She is an Egyptian princess. Vinny? Yes? I'm gonna need lots and lots of help. Vinny here can't be in any of the shots because his wife doesn't know he's here. Let's see what we got so far. Take it down. There are no typical paint jobs. We have girls that get rhinestone that it takes 4 or 5 hours. There's animals that can take that long.
Awesome. So I spent half the party in the mirror. Keep coming back for more.
Yeah, okay.
I wonder if the jewelers at Tiffany's have this much fun.
We've got other lingerie that we've done several times that we could probably do in 45 minutes. But those don't get selected that often. Okay, that's good. Make sure you hit that edge and you spray. So as you peel it off, it's going to start to show and it gives it an edge each time. Someone's going to be spraying as the other person's unwrapping it.
Looks like these guys are really into rap.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
Hey, wait a minute. I thought mummies were supposed to be dusty and shriveled up.
The girl that's being painted like the snake, she's been here since 9 this morning, so she's been standing there for 6 hours, and she's still not done.
And when we got here, we got naked pretty much in our robes. Actually, we alcoholed our entire body to get rid of like the oils and lotions and whatnot because I guess the paint won't stick to it. They lined us up and just kind of picked out, you know, what would be best for our body type. So I've been standing here ever since.
He's like,
Hope it's not too cold out there tonight, or they're gonna have to change this pirate's name to Long John Shiver.
We're doing the outline, detailing, and then we have to do a little bit more shadow to make it a little bit more realistic.
I feel pretty comfortable. It's too early to tell if I feel like I'm nude or not.
Final stages.
Makeup, hair, wardrobe. Wow, I've never seen a naked person look so dressed up. And it only took 9 hours. I mean, I spend that much time just teasing my hair.
Never been to a Halloween party before, but I hear that it's the biggest party of the year.
It doesn't feel like you're naked. Once you get out there, it's pretty simple. People are very curious. They want to touch it because it looks like clothes. So yeah, exactly. Can I touch that? Can I touch that? But it doesn't feel like you're naked.
I think once we feel the breeze, then we'll really feel naked. But I think
it's cold.
We really are pieces of art. That's what I see us as.
So here it is. The completed journey from naked cutie to pirate's booty. Pretty cool, huh? Well, it's all in the normal night's work at Hugh Hefner's Halloween Bash. If a picture paints 1,000 words, then these pictures are worth 1,000,000. Wonder if I could save money on my dry cleaning bill if I just picked up a little black paint. These bodies give a new meaning to the phrase, hanging out with Hef. This party is so wild, even the skeletons come out of the closet. Ever wonder what goes into creating the ultimate Halloween attraction? Here's director Rich Perel to reveal some of the secrets behind Hef's Mansion of Madness.
It's really interesting that at a private home at this place in Los Angeles is really one of the best haunted houses in the world. You would think, wow, doesn't this work in an amusement park? You know, some amusement parks would be happy to get this. But for a private home, this is quite an event. The theme of the haunted house this year is an insane asylum. We're calling it the Mansion of Madness. And it's a place where, like, the inmates take over and run the asylum. You know the famous expression, except in this place it really happens. And then about halfway through, you're instructed to try to find the warden, and you find that he's a guy also in a straitjacket running around with an axe.
You know,
There's the asylum cafeteria, the asylum hospital, the asylum 3D area where everything's in 3D, and then you try to search out this guy and find him, and then to escape, you've got to go through like this catacomb with skeletons and stuff. So, a lot of good artists working on this thing, a lot of imagination goes into it.
I'm Marie Antoinette. I lost my head, see? But it's feeling much better now.
By the way, this is the muzzle mask that Anthony Hopkins gets off the plane with in the first movie. This is part of the artifacts collection that I have, and this is a very, very valuable artifact, and this is on a life cast of Hopkins' face as Lecter. This is actually a stun head used for Freddy 5, Nightmare on Elm Street 5. That's the real thing, too. Now, the thing that's cool about this room is we have a bunch of actors that stand in these coffins, and what happens is, a woman says, this is where they bury everybody, but they're trying to bury you alive. You gotta get out, you gotta out. And she backs up on a word cue. All these guys run at you like this, and then every single light goes out. You're completely in pitch black with all these maniacs and zombies. It scares everybody like you wouldn't believe. Great effect. This always gets the girls. This is a hallway, a corridor of body bags, and believe me, folks, nobody wants to walk through cold body bags. There's 24 of them here, and some of them are automated to kick. This is the thing that scares the most people. As a matter of fact, we've had some people back away from going into the haunted house because they don't want to go through this area. So come on, I'll show you. This is a room of skeletons, and what happens in here is the same thing again. We're in the 3D section. They're all painted for different degrees of background, center, and foreground. So people come through and they see all these things, they aren't quite sure where they are. And of course, there's two actors dressed completely in black. And in this case, what we did is we strapped the skeleton costumes right to the actors' clothes, and they're in black. So when they walk, and it's a very natural look, the skeleton walks. But it doesn't look fake. It looks like a skeleton's really walking. And you have to see it in 3D because as he runs towards you, he comes right up to your face, and it looks like these things are moving around. This is really a great effect, and it really gets a lot of screams. This room scares everybody. This is called a drop portrait hallway. There's these portraits. These are all in 3D, so you don't know quite where the heads are. And as you walk by and look, several of these fall down, and a guy with a 3D mask is behind you, jumps out at you. So it looks like this guy, but he comes to life, and the whole thing comes right out of you. When they fall, they make this huge crash. Just the sound alone is scary. But the fact that this guy comes to life with that sound is really cool. You should see as these kind of faces. You go right over here and you see this. Everything we do is scary. Hello! You see? See, that works even in the daylight. What a goof! We're getting ready in here. It's kind of noisy because of all the bone rattling. But I mean, this thing is a strobe effect, and there's something like 400 corpses in here that try to grab you, and this is probably our best effect in the whole haunted house. Look at these guys. People are afraid of strobe light, and they're afraid of skeletons. It's unbelievable.
I got it!
Now this room, a pneumatic jumps out of the bed, and then the exorcist flies forward, and then you see all these toys. This one's an actor that's alive. He's wearing a net, and this jumps up and runs after you. So no one expects it. They expect to see these two things. They never expect that the little toys are alive. And that's what gets them. That guy, that is totally real looking. That's really good. This is working great. People don't like clowns for some reason. You go to the circus, I loved clowns as a little kid. I always loved clowns, but for some reason, people are afraid of clowns, especially when they turn ugly. And you know, the gag in here is, everybody sees these clowns, everyone thinks they're not alive, and then there'll be a guy in the back standing here with an axe. And the guy standing with an axe is the warden. And he'll be posed like this, and as he runs at people, an air cannon goes off and scares them again. This is the exit, so the exit always has to be a big deal. You gotta say, would you like to see my dog? It's a nice little dog. I don't know where my other dog is. Have you seen him? Well, the dog is in here. It's a giant, huge monster, and you'll hear it jump and growl at people like this. Then you stick your head through. That's my dog. I told you my dog is there. You gotta be scary, really scary.
What time is it? Huh? Time to die? Huh? Time is it?
Oh, but that has to be next to it. It's gotta be the bomb that blows up. That's my bomb. You see, I'm gonna blow up the world. You don't believe it? Watch this. And when it blows up, scream. But make sure it's there, big guy. Hey, Mike, make sure you scream when that comes up. Because the actor is always scarier than the device. So the device is part of it. You're the thing that makes it work. So get crazy. When it launches, go wild. All right? Cool. You're supposed to be an escaped convict who wants to be a cook. He poisoned everybody. Oh, is that what it is? Yeah. These are dummies, so you got to be a dummy too. Most of the people start through. Okay. The last three, I want you to scream as loud as you can and jump at these guys. You're gonna here, sit at the table and put that thing down. Cock your head. It's got to look like you're stuffed. It's this. It's a doll. They start out, they're gonna think you're a dummy. Okay. You have to scream and yell and no, don't. You know, the guy's killing you.
We make up about 4 or 5 people in extreme, really nice prosthetic makeups. Well, Jeff right here, as a young Frankenstein, he has a foam forehead and nose bridge, and then everything else is color. And then Richard here, he has a fake nose, and then everything else is color. For vampires, we usually do a brow piece of some kind to lose their eyebrows, lenses, and teeth. And then for a zombie, it's basically whitening them down, getting them gaunt, making them look, you know, dead, veiny, whatever we need to do just to kind of make them look ghoulish.
Always have trouble with. You're supposed to have both of them on there?
I think there's about 60 or 70 people in the haunted house. Some of them with vampire makeup or zombie makeup, and then some of them have masks.
Hef is gonna come out now. We're gonna do this dry run of the haunted house and see what he thinks, and if there's any tweaking we need to do before the party, it's gonna happen now.
Hef's Friday night movie guests don't know what they're in for when their host gives them a sneak peek at the House of Creeps. I don't know if I'd want an invitation to this preview. Last year, 60 guests went in and only 52 came out. Guess they weren't late for dinner. They were 8 for dinner. Talk about hiring cheap talent. Better let my agent know. I guess you could say this place is one that'll really scare the pants off you. Maybe that's the idea.
That was good. That was really good. Oh my God.
The best.
Mr. Hefner is really, really happy. He keeps saying every year it's better, 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 but this year all of his friends told him this is the best one they ever did. So give yourselves a hand. Everybody was great.
Okay, now that dress rehearsal's over, it's time for everyone to get back in their coffins for a couple of hours of shut-eye. Because before you know it, the moon will rise and Hugh Hefner's Halloween bash will begin.
This is one of Hefner's favorite parties, if not his absolute favorite.
So what's it like to be a guest at the biggest and best Halloween party in the world? Let's find out. Some of the party animals shuttle up. Of course, I wouldn't recommend that unless the party animals you're planning to meet are the kind that slobber and grow long teeth. Other guests simply drive their own hearses up, like the Munsters, seen here in their tricked-out Munster hot rod.
Happy Halloween!
Designed and driven by none other than George Barris, king of the customizers. Or make that King Kong of the customizers.
Nice place you got here. Hugh Hefner is my hero. Yeah, Hugh Hefner, he really knows how to throw a shindig. Yeah. And when I say shindig, I mean dig. Yeah.
Then it's time for our host, Hugh Hefner, to make his grand entrance. Whoa, Hef looks like he's starring in an episode of Party Planner Rich Carell's old TV show, Leave It to Cleavage. So many famous people showed up at this bash, the cannibals thought it was a celebrity roast. Look, there's Anna Nicole hanging out. Of her costume. Red Buttons hadn't had this much fun since New Year's Eve on the SS Poseidon. Bill Maher tied one on in his corporate-sponsored jacket. Movie producer Brian Grazer and his pals look out of this world as the Men in Black. Well, the Bachelorette showed up without a date, while Ryan O'Neal moseyed up to the mansion as a cowboy. Hey, isn't that Sonny Corleone? I thought he slept with the fishes. Actually, it's Hef's old pal, James Caan, a mansion regular for over 30 years. Malcolm in the Middle star Frankie Muniz and director Gary Marshall were just two of the guests visiting the Paris Hilton. 1950s sex symbol Mamie Van Doren is still flashing her assets around. Moon astronaut Buzz Aldrin and his wife found space in their night for a visit. Swingers star Jon Favreau came as a pirate with an eye for booty. Comic Judy Tenuta came as Anna Nicole, with someone at least twice her age. And starlet Bijou Phillips was having a bad scare day. She came as a match. Talk about hot.
Jay, I don't know about this. I don't think it's in your future. You're not going to end up being a pope.
Now we're on our way to the Scarecrow Bog. Here, men made out of paper and straw are more animated than most of the guys I've dated. One of the night's highlights is a visit to the Hollywood Chamber of Chills. And I'm not talking about my bedroom, honey. For one night only, the most famous monsters in movie history take up residence in Hef's living room. The treasures range from heads of Jeepers Creepers and Young Frankenstein to the Planet of the Apes, Chucky and his bride, Jurassic Park, Alien, Pinhead, Beetlejuice, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, Ghoulies, Pumpkinhead, Nosferatu, and hundreds more.
Mask. Oh boy, monster. He looks like he's alive. Yeah.
Oh my God, I knew it! Not me! I had no idea!
I saw his eyes.
Oh my God!
Now on to the haunted seance room, where they're going to try to communicate with the dead. You know, just like buying stamps at the post office.
Let the dialogue with the deceased begin!
Yes, they're here at the table. You're going to contact your murderer? You're going to give them a sign? You're coming closer? Even closer? You're going to touch them? No! No, don't! Don't
There are more than a dozen scares hidden throughout the mansion grounds. But the final treat for all these tricksters is a visit to the world's biggest and most elaborate private haunted house.
Creepy. Are you here to check in? Oh, it's that way, but be careful of the warden. He's a little axe happy. Oh.
You like my little puppy dog? Huh? Have you seen my other dog? Have you seen my other dog? You're gonna help me find my other dog!
Please stop! They say I'm crazy because I like things that tick. Can you hear it ticking? Can you hear it?
We gotta make sure that our girlfriend made it out alive.
My princess, please. Let me drill your teeth.
This is the last stop in the asylum, and they're gonna try to bury me alive. They're gonna try to bury you. You have to get out. You have to get out
We're so scared sober, it's crazy. Really scary. The haunted house? A-okay. The best one I've ever seen.
That was the best haunted mansion I've ever been in my whole life. I'm over there filming walls. You put on your glasses. You're in a 3D room. You feel trance. The walls are moving in and out. People are swaying back and forth. You got dead people spitting on you. I loved it. I even flashed when I was like this. Hey! Seriously! I loved it.
So how do you sum up Halloween at Hef's? Hair-raising? Spine-chilling? Eye-popping? Well, all I can say is here you'll find more jaw-dropping figures than on an Enron balance sheet. And more fresh melons than at the farmer's market. And at the center of it all is Hugh Hefner. He's the host with the most and a ghoul's best friend. This is Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, warning you that if you watch Monsters HD, you never know what might pop out.